let's get started. Thank you all for joining us today. Today kicks off Eric's 8-week training course, Mastering AI in Your Business. And I'm super excited about this. He's taking a slightly different approach with this training course. And instead of breaking it down where each class just approaches one tool at a time and how to use that one tool, he's breaking it down into like business applications and true use cases. So these will be evergreen, and you're going to find these recorded for all Huzi members in Huzi Learn. So you can access at any time as a refresh. We'll have the transcripts in there as well too, so you can reference those and leverage the information, the guidance that Eric's shares with us today on the call at any time that works for you. So I'm super excited for that. Today is all about sales and marketing. So Eric, should we get started?
I don't see why not. It's 9:02. Let's rock and roll. Can you hear me fine?
We can hear you, yes. And I should mention too, if you guys have any questions, we'll be monitoring the chat. So Eric's going to be navigating through a lot here. So if you want to just stay on mute and then post your questions in the chat, we'll get to those and call on you as we navigate through the course.
Yeah, for sure. So put them in the chat, the questions in the chat. Josh is here to answer technical questions there. Danielle will point questions out for me because I'm not monitoring the chat because I got the slides here and everything we're working on hands-on. And so Danielle, feel free to interrupt me with questions because I like to answer them as they come up, if they pertain to the topic at hand instead of waiting till the end. That way it's fresh on everybody's mind and it's relevant to what we're talking about. And then at the end, when we're done with the whole thing, we'll be able to unmute and do live Q&A back and forth if we have questions that way as well. But during the presentation, it'd be awesome if we could keep the muted on and just do the questions through the chat so we don't have the random phone calls happening in the background and whatnot like we do every time. It's so funny. First of all, you guys, thank you for taking your time to come here and learning how to grow your business. We are talking about AI, of course. But really at the core of it is serving our clients better. It's making a more memorable experience. It's out competing your competitor, right? Your competitor. It is serving them deeply in ways that we can now. And so AI just happens to be one of those tools. You're also going to notice that the way we tried to talk about AI and position it, there's some automation here, but again, I'm trying not to automate ourselves out of a job. And we're trying to keep ourselves relevant and stay on top of AI and in front of it instead of working for it like I'm already seeing some agents doing, by the way. And so we are going to go right into the AI agents. Let me turn this on here. Here we go. We have a couple of objectives today. We are going to talk about automation and scale. We're using real examples. Mark Schultz is on the call here today. He's one of our members. Also, he's got a great niche serving specific car enthusiasts via his real estate business, which I think is a really cool niche that we can talk about it because as we're learning, the world is getting noisier and noisier and noisier. And the way to pierce through is with a clear and compelling value proposition and differentiator between you and everybody else in your marketplace. So I just think Mark's got a great example. So I want to use a real world example that then put yourself in those shoes. Right? Consider yourself if you were Mark today and the opportunities that you have with the tools like this, and then you can broaden your horizons from the way you're doing business today is my goal. And lastly, I want it to be actionable. There's nothing theory here. Want you to take an idea and be able to put it right into action today, launch an assistant today if you want, or an agent today, learn how to use the Satori board, learn how to make more content, but actually today is no theory, like really get right into it. And make it actionable for you. So with that said, let's meet Mark here. Mark, do you like the photo I found here, buddy? It was online. I felt like a cyber stalker the last couple of days. Check it out. And again, I'm not meant to make a comment on Mark's actual business. We didn't sit down and do an interview. I just have made some assumptions, and these can be broad brush strokes about 80 agents or 80 small business owners' needs here. Lead management, scheduling, business challenge here of time, right? Our finite resource of time. And the most important, or I think the coolest thing about AI is how much time I'm getting back in my day. How many minutes each and every time I'm using AI to get there a little bit quicker or to write things a little bit better. It's not maybe, 3 hours each project, but it's 5 minutes here, 15 minutes here, 22 minutes here. And those add up very, very quickly and exponentially. All of a sudden, you found yourself to be way more efficient, way more productive by just doing these little tweaks along the way. So we really want to focus on those little wins because those little wins stack up very quickly. Mark's challenges, and insert your name here, whatever your name here, your challenges here, but we all be included. Inconsistent leads, follow-up systems. We're doing still lots of things manually, client support manually. A lot of content creation is done manually. There's just inefficiencies that I'm hoping today you can see, oh, I have a path to streamlining. Oh, I have a path to deploying a tool that I didn't have yesterday that will really save some time or increase the value proposition to my clients. So we're going to do a couple things. We're going to create an agent. I just called him Vroom today because it's kind of fun for the car enthusiast. We're going to talk really deploy one of those, start from beginning to end and deploy one of those together, and specifically focus on how you capture leads or how you have it schedule appointments for you or bookings for your showings or capture specific information. Josh and I are just having a conversation with the feature of capturing information inside the chat that you can use in your follow-up for later. So just don't think about this as capturing an email address or capturing a name, but capturing more information about them, like really what they're looking for, things going on in their life and whatnot that you can really use to serve them better, to help them find or sell a house or whatever business that you're in today. Then from there, we're going to go into Satori and we're going to map out here. I kind of created a board if I were Mark, maybe some of the things that we use Satori for in content creation and research and skill building. And we're going to go through that. And if we have time, then we'll also get into the SparkPad. And I put the SparkPad last because a lot of you have been using the SparkPad the longest, but agents and Satori are new. So we're going to spend as much time as we need to on the agents. We'll go to Satori, and with whatever time left today, we'll go into SparkPad. Sound good so far, you guys? In rapid firing? Okay, Danielle, make sure you're interrupting me as needed, okay? Danielle, I'm also going to ask you to keep me honest that if I skipped over something or gone a little too fast in a section and you think it would require a little bit more in-depth detail or knowledge, please interrupt me and ask me to go a little deeper, okay, on behalf of the group. Fair?
Absolutely.
Okay, cool. So let's get hands-on here. Where can clients find Mark, right? Or insert yourself here, right? We have websites, social media, live events, and if you're in the real estate business, you have listings. You're going to have open house events and signs and marketing going on in these listings. So agents, talking about agents specifically today, I want to talk about how we can use these and leverage these using Mark as an example to improve the experience or to gamify, capture more information in ways that we just haven't been able to until today. And so if Mark, saw you, buddy, at the auto show this weekend, and let's talk about this business, you guys. We put the business of real estate first. We put a lot of effort into doing events, hosting open houses, doing classes, first-time home buyer seminars, showing up at the fall farmers markets, and all the things that we do to interact with our clients and be seen in our communities. And I know what it's like to put all that work in. You're working the night before and you're putting together little goodie bags and putting up signs, and look at the effort that Mark went to put up, for this booth, bringing in cars and having backdrops and stuff. And so let's take that to the next level to turn this into something where it really pays off for you, right? A lot of us in real estate agents, we get in the business of being the free giver of information away. We're in these open houses and people come in and we just answering questions all day and we don't get anything in return. We do an event and we're answering questions. And so I'd like for us to all to focus on being in the idea of commercialized teaching, not free public education. All right. And commercialized teaching is when you teach something or you're doing something at these events that leads to your direct solution, your service, your product, your expertise, not just in general. Okay. So excuse my Photoshop here, but I was thinking how cool would it have been if Mark was able to do something. Oh, nope, don't zoom in on Mark. Excuse my Photoshop. But what if on this big backdrop, Mark had this big QR code and it said something like auto show secret information here, or a fun quiz, or fun car facts, or info about other car events happening in around Portland, or the top 10 road trips to take in Oregon, right? What kind of more interaction might you think of, Mark, if you would have had something like this? Does that make sense, buddy? By the way, it doesn't take any more effort because he already had the banner. He already had to make the thing. It was just deploying the agent, having the QR code, and being thoughtful ahead of time. Again, excuse my poor Photoshop, but I threw that up here so you can get an idea of what I was talking about. Now, why would you do this? Now, if I was, I use this example all the time. If I was in the business of selling binoculars, would you think that a really good use case for an AI agent or a chatbot of sorts would be to create a binocular chatbot where people learned about the different models and the different zooms? Or maybe something that you would have tried is maybe create an AI agent that's around bird watching. And the idea is to collect the enthusiasts, like they're using binoculars to find birds. They're not just using binoculars just because they want binoculars, but to really use them for a specific purpose, right? And so thinking this way about how to market with your particular niche is a really great example. And so here with Top 10 Road Trips or Fun Car Facts might have been a way, Mark, that you can capture some more leads and get some more communication going between people. Can you turn your mic on for a minute, Mark?
Yes, it's on now.
Does that make sense, buddy? You have any questions about that or thoughts?
Oh, it does. It's brilliant. We didn't know what our setup at this booth would be until a week and a half before the show. So we really didn't have any other signage other than just stuff we had cobbled together. And if we are told we're going to have the same booth next year, so I now have 51 weeks left to plan for next year. So guess what's on my list?
Guess it's on the list. And, this can be done in little handout cards, business cards. It could just be a link that you send from your phone, right? Table toppers in your restaurants, right? All different ways that you can use these sorts of things. So, and I know that when we talked, Mark, you said that one of the things that is a hard thing to do at these events, you get so excited talking about the cars that you forget to ask for the lead or ask for the information, right? Or to... Right?
Ask for capture. Exactly. Our only capture that we have is we have them registering for a detailing box. You can see on the right side, the green and blue, they're registering for a basket of car detailing products. That's our lead takeaway.
Yeah.
And they have to be able to do that. And sometimes there's so many people around the booth that we just don't have the opportunity to have all the conversations and get them to that final ask as we should.
Yeah. Fair enough. Okay. Let's go to the next slide here. So now your agents can be virtually anywhere, just to be really, really clear here. So if you look at the left-hand side here, what I was saying is that these agents have their own URL. So because they have their own URL, you can do things like a QR code or text them to your client or add it to your email signature, right? So because they live on the web with their own URL, they're very flexible that you can find them, send them, and direct traffic there in lots of different ways. From your property flyers, from QR codes inside your open houses and whatnot, okay? Second, in the middle here is just showing that I'll show you specifically where you get those shareable links inside the portal. And lastly, on the right here, they're also embeddable and you can have them connected to your social media, Facebook, WhatsApp, and Instagram pages. And we're actually going to show you specifically how to do that. So when I say embed, by the way, if anybody has any questions about that, technical questions, this is your time to ask. So put that in the chat and we'll get that to you. But embed would be places like on your WordPress site, Wix site, Squarespace site, your follow-up boss, go high level pages, your single property websites, any places like that where you can embed HTML code in the header or footer, or they have widgets like in PowerPoint presentations. You can even embed your AI assistant in things like that. So if you're teaching a first-time homebuyer class and you want to show your first-time homebuyers an AI assistant that they'd have access to as a result of working with you, you'd actually embed it in your presentation and do a live demo right there for them, right? Danielle, I saw you turn your mic on.
I did. I think it's really important just to point out. So when Eric talks about or mentioned that they're tied to a URL, this provides a lot of flexibility because if you're thinking about maybe some static marketing, right? So Mark, if you're thinking about a QR code on a printed sign or a banner, that you're not going to reprint over and over and over again, but that doesn't mean that your assistant, right, your AI agent here has to stay static. So the URL is going to remain the same. The QR code is not going to change, but you can update your AI agent. So if you're putting this on the tabletop at a restaurant and your menu changes, you do not have to reprint your QR code. So I just want to point out the flexibility that provides.
That's exactly right. So it's just a different line of thinking. I get it. What is an AI agent? It's like a digital person that knows nothing until you give it the information and tell it what to do. And then it almost knows everything instantly. Okay. And I say that with an asterisk, right? But I want you to understand, like, that's just think of it that way. So where does this digital person live? Well, it has its own address online. And that just means that's where it is, but you can continue to train it, update it, give it different instructions over time, but it still lives in the same place. Okay. So great point, Danielle. Any other points that you want me to make on that I think would be helpful? Okay. So these are integratable. Okay. Let's go ahead and open up the dashboard here. All right. Can you see the dashboard here, Danielle? Okay. So how you get here is a couple different ways. As of tomorrow, inside your Huzi SparkPad for members, there'll be a little button that says AI agents. So you can click that and we'll take you right to your login here for your AI agents. The other way to get there is just by going to agents.huzi.ai. How this works, if you don't have an account yet, you'll start an account. There's a 7-day free trial that's associated with these accounts. So you can just get in here and mess around with it. Should you decide you actually want to go ahead and use these, there will be right here a subscription option. So when you click upgrade for members only, it costs $1 per month. So you have a credit card on file, and then you will receive a $12 credit each year that will cover the cost for the $1. So again, we're trying to say this doesn't cost members anything to get access to these, and we're making good on that promise. You'll get 3 agents with 100,000 character storage, and I'll show you what that is. And you have 750 messages that are included in your account for all members. Okay. Daniel, any other more details you think I need to clarify there?
No, so just to be super clear, if you go in to find that button in SparkPad now, you will not see it. That will be there tomorrow. But today, if you want to explore this, you're going to go to agents.huzi.ai.
That's it. That's it. Okay. So that's how you set up your account. And then you'll be all set to go. Now, this dashboard, it has wallet usage, storage, and the number of agents. These are the 3 kind of buckets that you need to look at in order to know the status of your account and how the accounts are built and how the agents are constructed. Okay. So each account has 3. You can purchase more AI agents. So for instance, if you decide that you want to have an agent available for each client that you have, and you're going to make an agent for each client that you have, you can buy more, or each listing that you have, or different events that you have. You can have unlimited agents. They cost $20 per month per agent after the 3, just to be clear. So that's how that's charged. Okay. So you get a full AI agent for $20, which is super cheap compared to what else is in the market. I just want to point that out. Storage as well, because you're going to train and get information to each one of these agents, and that takes storage. So if you give your agent documentation about a real estate transaction, if you give your agent 3 websites that it scrapes to learn all the information on the website, and that's the knowledge base that it has, that's going to be stored somewhere. So there are costs to store data, and that will be associated here. Everyone gets 100,000 characters for free in the storage, and you can buy up to 1 million characters for $10 a month. Is how that works. Okay. So you can add storage as you need it and a consumption model. So you can downgrade or upgrade your account anytime based on your usage, right? So you can totally flexible in your expense here. And then you have access to viewing all the transactions. So you know exactly every agent that you have, the number of messages it's using, how it's taking out of your account, how much storage is being used is all very transparent here right inside your dashboard. I don't want to go too much in the dashboard today, but it's very, very transparent and broken down here, which I think is really cool. Let's get into the agents. All right, Mark. So I thought of 3 different examples for you here that we might dig into. Why don't we look at the car quiz one first and think about your events first. So think about these events, and we're going to click into View Agent. All right. Now, excuse the appearance. If you don't like the way it looks, you can totally customize that, and I'll show you how to customize it. But I thought at the event is how fun it would have been for these people to have engaged with some sort of quiz. What triggered this is, Mark, when we were talking, you said, hey, did you know I have the second most expensive car here? The first most expensive car is the one over in this booth, blah, 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 blah. I didn't know that as a car show. It would have been cool to know like where the most expensive cars were in the show, and I could have found those and looked those over, and you would have been the source of that information, right? So it would have been really cool to have something like that, but the show didn't provide that you could have as a value add for running into your booth. Make sense so far?
Yes.
Okay. So here's what we'll do here. I'm going to show you in the settings, and here's where you're going to set up your first agent. Now, if I'm Mark and I want to do a car quiz, I'm going to call it the car quiz. The display name is the one that actually shows. I'm going to capitalize here so we get a little more proper in our grammar. And primary models. Now, you have control over the different AI models that these agents will run off of or be based off of. If you don't know which to pick, then I would suggest that you pick the default, which is going to be the GPT-4o, which would be like this one. Josh, do you have any comments on that, buddy? By the way, if you have any commentary on model selection per agent, share.
Yeah, I would just say for 99% of people, 99% of the time, 4o is going to be your best bet. If you find yourself for some reason with like a very maybe more simple agent and you have the most popular chatbot, or excuse me, most popular agent on the block, and you're using thousands of messages, you could maybe drop down to 4o mini. But in general, I think it's the best balance of sort of price performance. GPT-4, 3.5, I wouldn't worry about at all. That GPT-4 that's more expensive, I wouldn't worry about that at all. Just GPT-4o at the bottom there is going to be best for 99% of people. And if you really need to cut down on those costs because you're using a lot of messages, 4o mini is good. But the other ones I don't even think are worth, I wouldn't worry about those.
So what this means is that after your 750 messages, then a message would cost roughly 1 penny for it to produce a response for your client. Okay. And that is a DM response in your social media. That's a response on a car quiz. That's a response on a transaction bot. So just collectively, it costs about 1 cent or so, between 1 cent and 4 cents, depending on the model that you pick, for each query back and forth. And you're completely in charge of that. So if you decide that you don't want to pay any more pennies for any more responses, you can turn it off for the month. But that is how that works. And then in the next 2 weeks, you're going to see Claude be introduced here as well. And the reason for that is every now and then, like OpenAI does go down. And so if you don't want to be at the mercy of just one singular AI provider for your agents, there'll be the alternative to have Claude as well as the backup. In the next 2 weeks, that'll show up here as well. Okay.
And if this feels a little overwhelming to people, like what's the difference, right? So we just went over the cost difference between these different models. We have a fantastic resource in Huzi Learn as well too that Nate put together for all the members. I actually reference it a couple times a day. When you're in SparkPad and you're in the drop-down menu, we have a really high level comparison of each of the models, which is fantastic on the go. But if you go to Huzi Learn, there's an even further description of each one and some tips on maybe when you would or wouldn't select one model over the other. So that's super helpful. And then just to answer Renee's question too in the chat while we're on here, yes, Renee, so you can change this model as you go. So what Eric is showing us right now is he's in his AI agent and you can totally customize this. So someone else asked a question, like if you're developing an agent for a very specific use case, could you then go and change it to something else? Absolutely. And that's where you can feel freedom to do this and even add this URL via QR code or something like that to static advertising, because the AI agent itself is flexible and can grow and learn, and you can completely customize and change as your use case changes or your need changes.
Okay, so there's a few other, that was great. Thank you, Danielle. I forgot to mention as well, on the bottom right-hand side here, you have the assistant that knows, it is trained up on everything with the Huzi agents here. And Josh is continuing to improve this as we find things that it doesn't know. We're adding it to the knowledge base here as well. So this tool here is going to continue to get more and more robust. So for instance, if you don't know how to craft a base system prompt, you can go right here and just simply ask. Okay. And that's actually how I created this car quiz from scratch using the assistant here on the side. Walk me through step by step by step. Okay. And we'll actually show you a little bit of that here too. Okay. I'm going to skip temperature for now. I just leave this at 0 for now, and we'll do some advanced training for advanced users at another time, but leave that at 0. Support marketing email. Any point in time, if your consumer is interacting with your agent and they want to get instant access to support, or they have a question or want to reach you, you can enter your email in there and they can get direct access to you in that way. Now, the base system prompt, I'm just going to this is how you tell your agent exactly what to do and how to do it. If I was, Danielle, can you give me another example of another type of agent that somebody might want to create here?
Well, a really common use case, right, is having an agent answer questions on a property when for your customer that's standing in front of the house. So that's a very specific use case, very specific answers, trained more than likely on data you've given it from an MLS printout or something like that.
Okay. Information. So if you see here, I just said, hey, help me create a system prompt to generate an agent that can help users find out the information about my current listings. And you'll see here that it will get to work. And now you have something that you can copy and paste, put into your system prompt, and just begin testing. Okay. So Josh, although he's somewhat of a scientist when it comes to this sort of thing, it's still an art of testing and iterating and figure out if it's performing exactly how you want. No different than when you're training a brand new employee, right? You give them instructions, you let them get to work, and then you go back and check to see how they're doing, and you give them updated instructions based on how they're performing. Exactly in the same way. So what you do here is you'll be able to copy and paste this prompt, enter it right to here, and then you test, does this work exactly how I want? Yes or no? And then you can just make changes. Go back over to Huzi. This doesn't work, blah, 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 blah. Make a change accordingly. It will rewrite the prompt for you. They recopy it, re-put it back in here. So you're not having to do this alone. Just be super, super clear. Okay. You can use the assistant to help you in this way. There's 2 other ways that you can also get some help. 1, in our other tools, which I'll show you, like in Satori, how you can do that. And then 2, if you just want to say, man, I just want somebody to tell me, I want personalized support. I just raise my hand. Hey, just walk me through it. You can click over here on the left-hand side, book a one-on-one coaching and consulting call. It's $149, and you get an hour of my time or Josh's time or somebody on the team's time to sit with you one-on-one and build an agent from scratch or answer your personalized questions. So lots of support here that you can get access to and resources. Any questions about that, Danielle?
No, we had some questions too, just on the different limits for character count and stuff. So I think this is a really great moment to point out that, so the character count limits when you've got your options with your subscriptions, that has to do with your training data for your individual agent, right? So depending on what your agent is used for, it may require more or less information. If it's for a specific property, perhaps it's just the MLS printout, maybe some neighborhood information. If it's more on fitness and training, perhaps you're bringing in a lot of information to train and inform the responses for the customer and to answer their questions really completely. So I hope that helps provide a little clarity. The character counts that you'll need to build out each one of these agents is really going to depend on your use case and the type of answers that you'll be giving via that agent.
So for this agent, for the car quiz agent, I used 3,827 characters for the training of it as an example. Okay. And that was all in here. What I did was to actually come up with the questions and whatnot, I used the Huzi assistant. I had it give me 100 interesting car facts right here on the board. And then I copied and pasted that and put it into the text right here. And now the assistant, within that 10 seconds it took me to have had all of the questions to fuel the quiz. That register with you guys? Okay. So that took 3,827 total characters. And I'll actually show you how to do that here in a second, but just around the character question, there we go. Okay. So let's look at what this base system prompt is and kind of the structure. You're going to find, like, Josh has a recipe for how he puts sums together. Again, inside the marketplace, we have examples where you can just copy and paste them and put them over. And Josh has created a template and you just enter your variables. So if you don't want to mess with them, you don't have to. But I want to tell you, you can't mess it, you can't break it per se. You can try it, put in a system prompt, test it before you deploy it, before you put it anywhere to make sure it's working perfectly. And if you need some help, ask the Huzi assistant or raise your hand for us to help you as a staff member. Okay. So don't worry about too much about if you're great at prompting or not. You've got tools all around you. Okay. But let me show you how this works before I even go any further here.
I was going to say, Eric, quick question. Do we have different versions of this for sharing, or do I keep a separate ScratchPad with just, if I make a change, but I want to go back to previous best practice for how to store that or capture that?
Oh, Josh, do you have any suggestions on that, first of all?
Yeah, that's a great question. Right now, we don't really have a way to do like a live version and like a draft version, unfortunately. So you could, if you have the agents available, you could always have a copy of one, like your live version, and then maybe one that you sort of mess around with. But I'd say the best way to do that would probably be to just make sure you have sort of maybe in a separate document, like your system prompt saved. So that way, if you mess around, you can always go back to that old version, but we don't really have version handling on the platform at the moment per se. But
Okay.
thank you for the question.
Yeah, two solutions. That's a really great use case. Like you have one that you've deployed it, and you want to see if you want to test it and make changes to it and improve it without losing your old work. So I use Google Docs for that, and I just keep my system prompts noted in a Google Doc so I have those access. But the other way to do it, let's say I have this one, it's deployed, you can clone this agent, Mark, or anybody, clone this agent right here, and then have another version that you're working on, not deployed or not published, not put anywhere, to see if you like it better. And then you would simply trade out your system prompt for the clone version for the new one if you found that you like the new version better, right? And that way, you, like what Danielle said, you keep the URL the same, keep everything the same, and you're just updating the system prompt that way. But you're using another agent to kind of test it with. And you can do it that way as well, right here. Okay. So if you see, how does this work? So it's like, great. Hey, tell me, what's the first question? All right. So first of all, what car manufacturer produced the Beetle model? What's the guesses, Mark? You can't weigh in here. Does anybody have a guess? Put it in the chat.
Yeah. So good to see you.
Can I put B? Is that fair? Is that fair? Okay. Vroom vroom. It's a Beetle. All right. Next question. What's the name of the part that connects the wheels of the car and allows them to turn? What's the answer? Axle, chassis, suspension, or steering knuckle? We got any responses in the chat, Danielle? Come on, don't avoid it, Danielle. Show me your car knowledge. I can't
unmute. I thought the first one was a trick question, so now I'm nervous. Everybody's saying A.
I'm gonna put in so you can say A, not quite. It's the steering knuckle. Great. What has the horse logo? B, great. What's your guess? See, so the idea is you go through. Now, if I get this, let's see if I get this. I'm not even gonna read the questions. I'm gonna get to the end here. Close, not quite. No worries. Let's go C. Not quite. And by the way, I'm not reading it, so I actually just stick with me here. I'm not that crazy. Okay, great. 2 out of 6. And let's go D. Got 2 out of 7. Great effort. Goes along the way. Okay. So then now we'll wrap it up. Now, if Mark wanted to say, hey, at the end of this, I would like to ask for their email to send them something else, or I want to ask for the name at this time, you can tell the system to do that. It will now at the end of the quiz, now collect the contact information that he's requesting. So you can do a value exchange for here if you wanted to tell your agent to do so, right? That makes sense. So that's how this sort of like fun, like sort of little guy would work here. Let's go down starter questions and starter messages. I love this feature and functionality because it gets your user going right away. So if I wanted to say something like, what's the most expensive car in the auto show? And that be here, I'm going to update the AI agent. If we now go back and look at the agent, you're going to see you have a conversation starter as what's the most expensive car in the auto show. So these can be like little push button functionalities that you can like get your user to know exactly how they'd interact with the agent or what they'd be sort of asking here. And that's done in the settings. And you can have many. So let's do another one. Let's say here, what is the, let's something like this. Obviously, these would be the things that you'd want to have in your training data, but these would be the things that you can have as a starter. Now you'll see how long does the show last, right? So these are now push button functionalities, and this gives a kind of a nice, greases the wheel using the agent here right at the very beginning. That's what that setting is, okay? And then lastly here, you have your initial messages. So this is a quiz bot. So I change it to want to take a quiz. This could be, hi, my name's Eric. Ask me anything. This can be, hi, welcome to my listing on 1234 Main Street. What would you like to know about the listing during the open house today? Right? You can change this initial message to be in context with whatever you're working on or whatever you want the user to experience. Lastly here, show data sources. What this means is if you have websites that's part of this training data or documents that you've uploaded, like the purchase and sale agreement, when it gives a response, it will show where the agent got the answer, so the user has the source of the answer for you. Okay, so this can be really impactful for certain use cases. So you can show the data sources. If you want to keep the starter messages persistent, you can. Debug mode will do in advanced training, and that has to do with actually getting a little bit of responses out of the AI and fixing problems if we have them. And audio feature, which is right here, you can have your agent be connected to your microphone so your users can just speak to it if you want, or they can type either one. So if I begin typing, you'll see it changes it to a input, or if I can ask, what is the slogan of BMW? Then I can enter it that way, and you can just talk to the agent as well. Okay, so you can talk or type to the agent by clicking that button back or forth. Cool? Cool new feature, Danielle? Like this so far? All right. So share agent. This is the shareable link. This is the link that you would use if you wanted to create a QR code. You now have a link, and like I said, it lives on its own. So here is this AI agent. It lives on this website. You can direct people there with a text message or a QR code. It'll be some of the two main ones. Clone the agent we just talked about. Agent UUID. Okay, these agents have got pretty good integration capability. So does anybody here use KV Core or Follow Up Boss or Go High Level or CRMs? You can connect these agents to your CRM as an example. So if it collects a lead or any notes associated with a lead, you would be able to drop that and put it into your CRM. This UUIDs is often needed on the other side, like in the CRM, and you copy and paste and give it this information so you're connecting the agent to your CRM. And we can do specific like integration classes later. Just want to show you, if you want to go connect one to your Go High Level today or your Follow Up Boss, you can. And that's what the UUID is, and this is where you would find it. Okay, and again, if you have any questions, you can answer the Huzi bot right in the lower right-hand corner. Summary, anything that you want me to go over with this, Danielle?
No, this is great. I want to point out too, what you're seeing on the screen is Eric is testing the AI agent in his screen. So as if he is a customer. So feel free to go in and play with it and make sure that you have it structured as you want. Questions are coming through and answers are coming through as you would wish. And you know, that helps with the confidence level as well too, as you first deploy these.
I'm going to actually open up the transaction assistant here. We're going to talk about the training data. Now, this use case for Mark or for anybody would be, maybe you decide that whenever you have a successfully accepted offer or you take on a new buyer, you want to give them a little AI agent that knows all about home buying process, the way you approach the process, your contact information. If you have any documents that you want to upload, it gives them Q&A like, what is a lead-based paint inspection? What is a radon inspection? What does earnest money mean? Like all those sorts of things that people want to know, but they're kind of too embarrassed to ask you sometimes. You can spin up one of these agents and have that be for each individual client if you want, and personalize these and give them their own little assistant in their pocket. So what I did was, for the knowledge base of this one, is that I went in and I pretended in the use case, like Mark has a transaction here. He's selling a property on Bybee Street. So I took the whole transaction data, the earnest money agreement, everything, all the addendums, and I uploaded it by simply clicking upload file. I gave it a home buyer's guide. I gave it the Oregon property buyer advisory guide and a home buyer glossary. that I had available. And I gave it to the agent by simply clicking upload file, clicking this, clicking open. And now you see it's untrained. I'm going to delete this one here. And you see this is an untrained. I uploaded it, but I have not yet trained the agent. So once it's upload, I click train the agent. And now all the documents are being scanned, loaded into the knowledge base of the agent. And now it's accessible for the Q&A and for the agent to answer any questions based on that knowledge doc. So let's go back here. And let's say, I say, hi, Scott and Danielle. See, I changed the system message to be personalized towards my client, right? So I'm the agent, Scott and Danielle are my clients, and they're buying a house on Bybee Street. And so I text them this agent. I'm like, hey, you guys, anytime you have a question about your transaction, here's my AI assistant. You can ask anytime. If you need me, just tell my AI assistant and it will ping me. I'll get right back to you, right? Really cool to have that 24/7. If any transactions, if you guys like this use case, I think it's a great use case. So let's say here, I say, let's say, how much is the earnest money? According to the purchase agreement, the earnest money is $5,000. If you have any further questions, let you know. By the way, that is accurate on this deal. Answer the sources. It is in the property advisory where it gave a generic answer and they gave a specific answer about your property based on your transaction. So you can see right here, it gave a great answer based on all of my documentation and a personalized answer based on this transaction. I might say something, what is a radon inspection? Again, I'm the client, like not knowing exactly what it is, but if I can't get a hold of Mark and have a question, I can answer that right here. Or I can say, hey, did they ask for the stove? I can't remember, no problem. Let's just ask my AI assistant. It will go through, check the knowledge base, figure out what's going on, generating a response. And you can see, according to the purchase agreement, that lists refrigerator, cooktop, oven, microwave, dishwasher. There you go. And then where's the sources? The sources are, it looked at the buyer advisory and it looked at the contract itself.
This is so incredible and so powerful. The use case for this is not just when your clients can't get a hold of you, but like as Eric, he mentioned, questions they may not take the time to ask you, but they do have at the top of their mind, right? Like, what is that? And then when they know that it's an AI assistant, they don't feel like they're bothering you. Or if that question comes through at 10 o'clock at night, they can find an answer immediately, right? Because it's coming from the information you have. They're working with you, but they're not bothering you, if you will. Not only that, think about other use cases like fitness trainers and stuff. You put together a really complete plan for a specific person and you feed this AI assistant. Now on the go, it's like they're next to you, coaching you along the way. If you were the customer, right? You're at a restaurant, you're trying to make a decision. You can just reach out to your AI fitness coach, right? And get direction on decisions to make. Love this.
It's a very powerful use case. I don't know of a lot of agents using stuff like this in this way. And I think the experience, like if you have a seller, right? And the seller wants to know all about like what's happening with the property, you can simply upload, like you could upload the buyer feedback. You can upload all the information that you had on your open house and who attended. And then your seller could just ask questions to the AI and have a total like running history of all the activity in the house if you wanted. Let's say if you're working with an active buyer and they haven't found a property yet, right? But you want the AI agent to be able to serve up property with a certain search criteria, you can actually integrate this AI agent if you have an API to your MLS, and you can actually feed it in here and now have custom search capability with your MLS through your AI agent as well. So lots of functionality. I just want to show you, if you want to hyper personalize an AI agent for a particular customer, you can now. And I think it's pretty powerful. If I were a buyer, I would love to have access to all the information about my property 24/7 just on my phone, right? I think it'd be great. Does anybody else like this use case, by the way? Marks, can you see use for this, right? Okay, great. So that's why I just want to show you the knowledge base becomes very powerful. You can either just copy and paste, like what I did on the, I kept it really simple for the car quiz. For this knowledge base, I did not use any files. I didn't use any websites. I didn't have any Q&A. All I did was put the Carfax here in the text field, train the agent, took 3,800 characters, and that's all it needed for the quiz. And that was sufficient. For the AI agent, where it is the transaction assistant, I just took the slightly different approach. I didn't do any texting, but I uploaded mostly all of the files. Now, let's say on your personal website that you have a this is how I work with home buyers blog that you've written. You can copy and paste that URL right here. And now the AI agent has access to all the information on your blog and your website and will personalize the responses based on what you've written about yourself and how you work with buyers. Okay. So you can do that really quickly here, but just by entering the URL. Let's actually just enter one here. Mark, can I find your website here?
Portland Homes for you should be at portlandhomesforcars.com.
Okay, right here.
There it is.
Okay, about me, my garage, right? So let's say I wanted this to be in the knowledge base. I'm going to copy and paste this in here. Copy and paste. Now, I want to only scrape the entered URL, because if you don't do that, then it will scrape all the URLs associated. But let's say in this use case, I just want just this web page to have this information because it's just about me helping the buyers. And I don't want it to scrape anything else on my site. Click this box right here, and now we'll only scrape that one particular URL. And I'm going to show you, then you click crawl website, and now it's going to go through and crawl the website. You will see it now crawled this website. It found 1,000 characters. And if I want to view what the agent found, I can click this and open to make sure that it actually scraped the information off the website that I wanted to. Okay. Sometimes on websites, it'll get you a bunch of metadata, or it'll scrape images or something. It doesn't, if you don't like it, you can view it real quick and make sure that you like the information the agent learned and you can accept it. Let's say I like this, and I'm going to go ahead and now retrain the bot, my agent. And now you see the agent is updated. And now the agent now has access to all of the information that was found on this particular website at the exact same time with a click of a button. Make sense to you guys? Pretty clear? Okay. I do really enjoy the QA session. Like especially if you have a bot that you create, or an agent that you create working with buyers, you probably know the top 10 questions that buyers ask you over and over and over. So if you want the AI to answer in a very specific way, where it says like, let's say, can you help me buy a house like Oswego? If somebody asks a question in that genre and you want to answer a very specific way, you can do that right here by simply creating an FAQ of sorts, giving that to your agent, and now it'll answer the same way every single time. Okay. So if you want to kind of standardize responses, you can do that with the Q&A. Josh, do you have any comments on that, sir, by the way?
I've been mostly answering questions in the chat. So yes, Q&A. And then also, I don't know if you mentioned that when you're in the chat, you can click train better response to just automatically.
I'll show that. Yeah, I'll show that. Okay. So what happens here, so if you get a response and it gave this response, and for some reason you would like to improve it or change it. So anytime somebody asks, what is a radon inspection, right? And just for fun here, let me mess up the spot, but what is it?
Yep.
All right, just to make this obnoxious, see, so train the response. Okay, response is being trained. Now, if we go into the knowledge base, we look in the QA, you'll see what happened is anytime anybody asks now, what is a radon inspection, it will give you the answer that you trained it on. Okay, so it'll log it here and put it here for you. In fact, let's test it. Boom. Oh no.
What, Dennis?
I don't think you hit retrain when you were over.
Whoa, thank you for that. Uh-huh. Caught me. Oh, I gotta upgrade my character. That's so funny. Let me take this out.
And so just to be clear,
I did not.
do not
That's
have to
caught me.
answer every question at all, right? This is what Eric's showing us here, is that you've got your information that's going to be training the AI, but you can track this in your dashboard as well too. And if you would prefer to tweak the questions that are generated by the AI, so that it maybe answers it in a very specific way to you, or maybe gives reference to a contractor you have or something like that. Anytime it asks for a certain vendor, you can retrain it essentially, right? So the next time that comes through, just to be clear, you don't have to preload every question. That would be nearly impossible, but you have flexibility. We haven't showed, I've been training or tracking the chat here, Eric, but we haven't showed the human handoff yet, right?
Not yet, getting to that. See, I knew we weren't going to get to anything else today. And that's okay. We'll have to just extend out this training even further. But I can tell we need to sit here to make sure that we got this part nailed here. Okay. Let me share my screen again. Okay, we're gonna go to the transaction assistant. We're gonna keep going knowledge base, now leads. This has already been upgraded from the original release a couple of weeks ago. Leads is a very now flexible sort of interface. You can collect just in the chat. The AI agent is going to ask back and forth in a chat interface, or you can create a form. And if you want, let's say, a field label first name, and you want somebody to fill out a form before they interact with your AI agent, you can do that as well. And I'll show you here. So I'm going to put save changes. And now if I go back to the agent, you see here it's required I got to enter my first name in order to begin interacting with the agent. And now it's submitted. And now I can begin interacting with your agent. So it's a way to kind of gate access to the agent if you want by putting a form up front and they're required to enter the information before they begin. Or you can just simply have it be in the conversation in the chat. And it's just going to ask for the information in the conversation style. You're in control of that either way, depending on your use cases. Does that make sense, you guys, everybody? Okay. View collected leads. So if any leads are collected, you can see right here, just collected my name and created when it is. And you can also, anytime a lead is collected, you can have the system send you an email notification. So if a new lead comes in any way, you can send you a new lead confirmation. And I'll actually show you in my email what that looks like. It gives you a link directly to the conversation, directly to the agent. And so you can get right to the conversation and see what that lead was talking about with the AI agent so you could follow up them immediately. It's a really nice email that you receive as well. You can also connect this to a webhook. So if you have Follow Up Boss or KB Core or something like that, and you want all these leads to instantly go into your CRM, just enter the webhook address here, save the changes, and now any leads that are collected will go to your CRM. Okay. Josh, you have any more thoughts about that one, bud?
I was answering somebody's question, about sending emails to yourself when you get a lead. Yeah, I would say if it were me, I'd probably set up and make sure to add, I test to get an email and then make sure to add that email address to sort of my VIPs or make sure that I get a ping and that it's sort of, brought to my attention immediately, especially when we start getting into handoff, because the handoff communication will be an email. So that's something you'd want to make sure that you see as it comes in. So if you're using handoff or email notifications for any of those things, I'd just make sure to check on the email side and make sure you have it set up so you don't miss those and they don't get lost in the shuffle.
Yeah, to be clear, because you're not emailing out of the AI agent, just so that we're super clear here. So if you have something trained and something connected, then check on your email side of that. Is that right, Josh? Just to clarify.
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question?
Oh, I was just clarifying, you're not emailing out of the AI agent. So if you have something designed here where there's some connection and there's a secondary step, you're advising to check on that level.
Yeah, it's going to be sending you an email from a specific address that's sort of within
a no reply
platform.
It's exactly. A no reply address from the system to your email address. Exactly. Yep. Okay. But you were asking about the human handoff, so I want to get right to that. Anytime your AI agent is having a conversation with a different person, a different IP address, or they're accessing it in a different way, you will see them listed right here on the left-hand side in your inbox. Now, if this AI agent is inside of your DMs in your Facebook or your Instagram, you will see all the conversations right here. You do not have to go to your Meta dashboard or your Instagram DMs in order to see the conversations. It will look just like you've been responding in the conversation. It won't look anything like this. Obviously, there's no header, there's no colors, there's no fonts. Just the responses are going back and forth. So your AI agent now looks differently inside the DMs, but it has the same sort of knowledge base and training and whatnot if you put it into your DMs. And I'll show you how to do that in a second. And that will be right here in integrations. So right here, if you do want this AI, instead of living on a URL, you want this in your Facebook. Let's say that this is my car quiz. And Mark wants to do something on Facebook where he's like, hey, all you car enthusiasts, I put the top 10, hardest questions to answer. Test your knowledge about your car knowledge here and send me a DM. And if they send you a DM, then the AI agent would take over and start to give them the quiz right inside the DMs. Right? Doesn't have to go anywhere else. And so to be right in your DMs, interacting with your AI agent, collecting any information, interacting with your social media account, which helps drive up your traffic. And all you have to do is click authorize with Facebook, click to approve it, and you are set to go. And that's how that works. Okay. And now the agent would be live inside of your Facebook DM instituting the quiz for your customers. That makes sense, Mark?
Oh, it does. I'm going to have to hear it 3 or 4 times and be led how to do it, but it makes sense.
Good. So again, if you need to be led a little bit, you can ask here the assistant, or we watch this class 500 times. And I'll show you another way I was going to do it. Okay, guys, we ran way over in this topic, but that's okay. I feel like it was important. Scheduling. Scheduling is if you want the AI agent to book appointments, book showings for you, book discovery calls, depending upon whatever your business happens to be and what you want it to do. I would suggest with this that the best way to schedule appointments, if you're using Calendly or you have a direct access to your iCal or something like that, put that in your system prompt and just have the AI agent give a link to the Calendly. And that way there is no is it connected? Is it not? Is it viewing my right dates or not? It's a very direct connection right to your Calendly or right to your iCal or something like that. That is the most foolproof way of doing that. The second way to do it is to click enable here and then connect your Google Calendar directly to it. And what that will do is the AI agent's in a conversation, and let's say it says, can I have a meeting with Mark? It'll say, yes. What's your time zone? My time zone's Pacific PST. Great. It will go and check your calendar and then come back. The only reason why I give a little asterisk next to that is anytime an AI is going off and doing things and then coming back, AIs are still imperfect, you guys. So it's a good system, it's robust, but the most perfect way, foolproof way, is to give a link directly to your Calendly. Okay, for now. This is going to continue to evolve. This is still a beta product, and it's pretty robust, but I just want to point out the most direct ways through your Calendly. Anytime you can click if you want to receive a notification if an appointment is scheduled. If you want that to be noted in your CRM, you can connect a webhook there. In your calendar, if you wanted to show something like a car lead discovery call. So anytime that they book it through this AI agent and you want it to show up on your calendar with a specific title, so you know that's where this appointment came from, you can adjust that here, save it, and now any bookings that show up on your calendar will have this particular header, so you always know what just happened and where this lead came from and why it's on your calendar. Okay, so that's a really nice feature. That is scheduling, and we'll do a little deeper dive into that. Appearance, I just want to again remind you guys, these can look and feel like anything that you want. You can change all of the colors, make sure that it represents your brand in any way. With a click of a button, you can change the colors, change how it looks, change the tone of voice, and make sure it represents you guys. We don't have to go through the appearance, but just want to share you can totally customize it. And lastly, I didn't even show your website example. So Mark, I got your little face on here and say, hey, I'm Mark's assistant. This use case for me was one I was putting it on your website, this website here, right? I looked at your website. I think it's a fantastic website. And I just thought how much more leads and how much more interaction you get if you had your assistant that popped up here that was able to interact with your clients and ask questions. A great use case would be if you have got listing load that you, especially with a niche like you do, Mark, and you've got listings that you want to tell people about, maybe they're across the country, or really high end, garages that you think are really fascinating. You want to have your agent tell people about those. You can do that right here inside of your agent. So what I did, let's go to the website right here. Can you see this like Google link right here?
Yes.
So imagine having a Google Doc or a Notion doc or a box.com document, and you've made it public, have public access. That is now considered like a public website that your AI agent can go scrape and learn what's on it, and then have that in its knowledge base. So if you had a live Google Doc and you want to input like the 10 best listings of the week, and you wanted to change that every single week, you could do that. And you could click this button right here. So this agent every 24 hours will go check that Google Doc and update the knowledge base, and it will only serve up that information every single day as you change. So you can have a live data somewhere living, and the agent can go and check that for you. So a great use case would be fun listings, information about open houses, fun things going on in the communities. You can do all that in this really flexible way too. Josh, were you gonna say something, buddy?
Yeah, I know people have questions about things like characters. What does that even mean? You can see here on this page the character count for these associated web pages, just to give you a bit of a sense of sort of what those numbers look like. So you can see some of the bigger pages are maybe a couple thousand, the smaller ones are a couple hundred, just to give you a sense of sort of scale.
So anytime if you want to see what was on it, so like this one, scrape this website here, we're meeting, this has got garbage. So I would go here and I would just delete it and not include it in my training data. Let's say this was 249 characters. I can open it up, also garbage. I wouldn't want that to include. So you can totally control what's being put in the knowledge base right here. Okay. Man, it is 10 o'clock already, isn't it? We went through a third of the content I was hoping to get through, but that's okay. There's a lot to go through today. So here's what I want to lead you guys off with. On the dashboard, when you log in, you are just going to be greeted with a blank stare. And you're like, oh my gosh, I don't know what to do. Please do two things. Book a one-on-one call to get these things going for you right away. You can review the get started tips. You can use the helper right here, or all of the other tools. If as a Huzi member you have access to, you can use the SparkPad to ask questions about how to prompt engineer, how to train a model. You can go into the Satori. I was actually building this for Mark out this morning, and I thought, oh, I want to get a book on prompt engineering. I want to create a guide. That's my prompt coach. And I was just asking questions about how to create prompts for my agents right here. So lots of resources, human resources and AI resources. I built these 3 agents last night only using the helper right here inside the system, and did exactly like it. I was acting like I was one of you guys, and I just did exactly what it was telling me. I copied and pasted, followed the instructions, and built those 3 myself. So without the need of Josh's super brain, which was really nice. Okay, so back here, we are going to do another training next week. And I'm going to adjust the agenda just a little bit, because I want to do Satori and do sales and marketing next week as well. Any questions? You guys can open your mic up here, and I'm going to field questions here from anybody if you guys are still around here. Every training I'm teased with Satori. Oh, I hate that. I know. Gosh. Okay. I will stay on with anybody that wants to talk Satori after this training, and we'll get you going. And Satori should launch for all members either tonight or tomorrow. You'll see it on your dashboards. So no more teasing. No more teasing after.
I do have a question on those pre-built assistants, like where the knowledge base is on those, how you guys have like the double slash. Is this something that we still need to go in and recustomize, whether that's using the chat, bot to help do that, or do we remove those? Will it work with them in there, etc.? Like, can you?
Good question, Josh. I'm going to share my screen. Josh, you want to take that while I'm starting to share my screen? I'll show people what she's asking about. It's a good question.
Yeah, you can totally delete that if you leave it in there. It's not really gonna mess anything up. That was just to sort of give you an idea of what sort of things could go in there. But if you leave it completely blank, everything will work fine. It was just some suggestions to sort of maybe help you understand what sort of things you can put in there, but take it in, leave it. It's not going to really do much either way, what's already there, if that answers your question.
And Jamie, I was a little nervous my first time as well too. And that orange dot down at the bottom is fantastic just to ask that question to the AI. And then you also have the ability to test it as well too. So if you're afraid you might have made a move that can't be undone or is going to generate the wrong responses, you'll be able to test it before it's deployed. So.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I was going to embed it into a website that's not public yet anyway. So, wasn't too worried about anybody else trying it out before I do.
Perfect.
I just didn't know how much of that I needed to like remove and update, and give specific Q&As to, or just straight up go ahead and upload files, off the bat. Cause I'm trying to get ahead of it on a upcoming fun, challenging listing, so I want to get it done before it goes live.
Oh, that sounds really cool. These are just little notes. So if you want to delete them, you can. But if you leave the two lines this way, that it will ignore, the AI will ignore the instruction here in the prompt. Yep. This is a kind of a little crafty way that Josh could leave notes for you guys, so you'd be able to use these prompts a little bit better without messing up the AI.
Yeah, and even though it does look similar, if you're familiar with like programming, and those slashes are going to make it commented out and change the behavior in a very specific, structured way. A way that I like to think about this, it's like if you printed this out on a piece of paper and gave it to somebody and said, "Hey, can you do these things?" You know what I mean? If something's not exactly perfect, or a period's out of place, or a slash is out of place, it won't be the end of the world. And the best way to sort of go about things that I've found is work backwards, sort of think, what do I want to be able to do? Maybe go in, try, ask this question. If it can't answer it, go back, and then sort of give instruction to sort of, meet in the middle and bring where you want to be and where you are sort of together in that way.
Yep. Great question. What else we got, you guys? All right. Coming soon is going to be voice, and I'm talking in 2 weeks. And so the idea for your clients to be able to call in and talk to the assistant over a voice is going to be really fun as well. So if you have customer support questions, lead generation questions, follow-up questions, or they just want to get a hold of you, you're going to have essentially like an AI receptionist as well. So you can pass off to your AI, and they can take messages for you, answer quick questions, and then pass it on to you after the message is recorded. So that is coming in the next 2 weeks as well. Other questions about how to get up and going? Glenn, good to see you. Oh, hi, Nick. Good to see you, buddy. Hey, guys. Linda. Hi, guys. Okay. Anyone want to wrap us up then?
This was fantastic. Thank you so much. And I know we had so much we wanted to cover today, but it was really great to be able to dive deep and answer some really technical questions too, as people are just starting to navigate and play around with their AI agents. What a whole new world.
And I'm going to stay on for Satori questions. If people want to talk Satori, I'm going to stay on because I want to make good on that promise today. So we'll do Satori questions. I'll do some demos if people have the extra time.
And then just like
another time.
Yeah.
Good. Yes.
And just a reminder too, any of our training, we always record this for members. So whether it be our live monthly calls or training that Eric puts out, we record these and we post those in Huzi Learn. So I know we started off the call with that reminder, but you can expect to see that in there within the next day. So you can revisit this at any time.
And by the way, with any of the trainings in Satori, if you wanted, you could take, because we host these on YouTube. And so you could take the link for the YouTube video, put it on your Satori board and say, what did Eric say about the system prompt? When Josh was talking about the 2 slashes, what did he say? Right? And you're going to be able to talk to the video, to the training video, just like that. So for instance, if this was the training video inside Satori, and I hope you guys don't mind me saying this, let's say this was the training video right here. And you said, summarize the training and tell me about characters as an example, because you were interested about characters. You could do that and it will take everything we just talked about and then summarize it for you and tell you all about characters as we are the training. So it could be a little tutor with any of the training videos now inside Satori. Okay. So that's kind of a fun use case.
And while we're here, somebody did have a question about Satori earlier that I'd love to ask, which is, are people going to be able to use different models on the same Satori board? Is that something that's being looked at?
Yes. Okay. So, it's people wanting to stay just for a little bit of Satori information here. Is that what I'm seeing?
Well, this was booked for 2 hours, so maybe people were expecting to, they're ready.
It was? Wow.
I think it said 9 to 11.
Okay, that's an extremely long time for people to listen to me talk, but I will continue to talk.
We love it. You've got all the info.
Holy moly. Okay, let's talk. So I built this board. For Mark. First of all, let me start at the very, very beginning. What you're going to see in your Huzi SparkPad, it's either tonight or in the morning, you'll have a try Satori little box right here. You're going to be able to click on that, and you're going to it'll open up first to a blank Satori board just to get you started. You see the upper right-hand corner, you see my little photo here of my boards. So you're going to be able to have multiple boards. So you can, just like conversations, you can have multiple boards. These can be static conversations, or you can edit and delete them as much as you want. So if I want to start a brand new board, you click start a new board, and now you start here with a brand new screen. Or if I wanted to access one of my boards that I had been working on already, you can do that right here. Like I was actually working on creating this course here using Satori. Okay. So this is just, first of all, it's kind of nice to have multiple boards. In the very future, we'll also have templates. So let's say you have a template of a way that you want to create your marketing for each listing. You have a template for where you're onboarding your assistants or new clients. You have a template that you use to review your quarterly financials. You can create those templates and have access to those anytime you want right here in my boards. So I'm going to open up Mark Schultz's board here. Okay. So what I was doing here was I was learning. Okay. Let's how do I want to start this here? Let's start over this way. Let's start with the brand new. Let's start with right here. Okay. At the very top, we have all of the tools that are available to use on your Satori board. The premise to Satori was I felt constricted working with just the chat interface in a ChatGPT or a Huzi SparkPad or Anthropic or Grok, all similar, right? You have the one window in the center of the thing, you enter back and forth, back and forth. The idea was, as the models keep getting more and more smart and more powerful, that all the bottleneck now was going to be on the users. Like, how good could I form a question, and how crafty could I get with the prompt engineering? And the bottleneck was going to be in the user. So I'm going to try and find a way to free that up. Well, in order to free that up, I was like, well, what if we take the elements of prompting and we broke that out into these little drag and drop elements that just make it easier for the users to get access to great outputs without having to know just what to type in. So here's what we'll do. Chat interface. We're gonna open a brand new chat here. I'm gonna delete this one. Now, this window here, this box is now just like a SparkPad. It's its own chat window that's connected to, these ones are all connected to the Google Gemini models currently. And then over this next week, we'll be importing the Huzi model, the ChatGPT models, and the Claude Anthropic models as well. We'll right in here. And you'll be able to select your model right inside the window. This chat, this chat, this chat, these are all completely independent from each other. Okay? They're on the same board, but it's like having 3 different assistants here all at one time at my access. So the benefit of this is, I don't know if anybody else's brain is a little bit more busy than just one back and forth, but I like to work on a lot of things at a lot of times, and I have this up on my screen, and it's acting as my assistant with whatever I'm working on in my day. So if I look at my calendar and I've got, to meet a client, I've got a class I'm hosting, and I got to make a decision on a new hire, I'll put those elements on this board, and now it's my daily assistants that I'm working back and forth in 3 different categories here at the same time, which I think is really powerful. But they are independent of each other. Now, in the lower right-hand corner, you have your Huzi assistant, which does know in context everything on the board. So although these minds here are independent from each other, Huzi globally knows whatever is going on the board. So if you have a question of what to do, what to ask, what you should ask next, how to add a feature, you can just ask Huzi right here. And so I'll do it right now, actually.
He muted.
You couldn't hear the Huzi response at all, could you?
Well, there it is.
Oh, we hear you now.
Okay, sorry. I was asking Huzi for a response, and Huzi talked. I didn't know sorry if you guys couldn't hear that. Okay. So that's all I was doing, was demonstrating that Huzi can answer any questions in the bottom right-hand corner. Now, if you look at I expanded the screen, so all I did here was, if I don't want to see all this mess, if I just want to see only this one chat window, you're going to see you have internet search and you have your reasoning model down here. We do have a reasoning model attached to it, and you can search the internet, which are really cool features. So if I want to say Google Mark Schulz, realtor. And you know what it's like. There you go. And it went online and found Mark Schulz's information, his phone number, and all that kind of stuff. So this is internet connected. It's not just training data static. You can have it search the webs for you right here as well. Okay. Now I can chat back and forth and just have a conversation. But like I said, I want to be able to get access to more information. I love YouTube videos, as an example. So what I was doing with Mark here is I went on YouTube and I found some really viral videos on people that were making videos about real estate and cars specifically, cool houses. And I was watching these videos right here in Satori, getting a feeling of what that was, what they were talking about. And then I was working with my AI to help me replicate these viral videos and make my own as Mark Schulz. Okay. So I was like, hey, watch these videos and tell me how to duplicate them for viral success. Okay. So what you're doing when you add an element, when I drag and drop and give it to my assistant, that's literally what you're doing, is saying, hey, assistant, watch this video for me, download the transcripts, get to know what else is being said, and then interact with the video and whatnot. Oh, shit, I should have talked the Google search. And now the AI model is trained on both of these videos at the exact same time. Yeah, does that make sense, Danielle? Josh, you guys getting this? Okay. So over here, give you an example. What I was doing, I was learning to prompt engineer. And let me start at the beginning and I'll show you exactly what I was doing. Okay. I'm going to delete all this here. Okay. Now, I'm going to look for a book on prompt engineering because I want to get better. Prompt engineering. Huzi Satori is connected to over 40 million books, all right here in 500 different languages. So if you want to learn philosophy or about religion or prompt engineering or how to sell houses or best leadership books, you're going to find them right here. So I like this book right here, drag and drop, add it to my AI. And now it's like this AI has just read this whole book for me. Make sense, you guys? Okay. So now what do I want to do with this book? Let's say I want to learn this book, but I don't want to just learn it myself. I want a teacher to help me. Persona, a prompt engineer coach. Boom. Now I've created a prompt engineering coach. I'm going to connect it to my board, and you can see here, it turned this board into a prompt engineering coach that knows everything about this book. Make sense? So try to really create the world's most flexible interface where you don't just have to sit down and say, act as a prompt engineer and teach me how to so on and so forth. You can go to your toolbar, find a book, throw it on the canvas, connect it to your chat. Tell the persona, connect it to your chat. And now I can work with this book and with my coach back and forth in any way that I want. Okay. Starting to make sense about kind of what this is here and how this works. Okay. I'm going to show a little bit more. Text fields. A text field is any sort of other instructions. Maybe I've got a whole bunch of data off of a website that I just want to copy and paste and throw in here. You can do that. Or I could say, talk in Spanish. Now, if I connect it up here, now if I say hello, you can see now it only is answering in Spanish because I've given it the instruction to talk in Spanish. Now, if I turn that off and I say hello, it's a pleasure to work with you. So you can make connections, delete connections, add things till your heart's content. This is the ultimate interface for anybody that's curious or creative or wants to learn or create or extract information out of, because you can just figure things out to your heart's content here. Make sense so far? Okay. So let's go, let's do this. I need to create an AI agent that will deliver quizzes on Carfax. What do I do? Okay, here you go. And I'll start walking you through again in context of being this guy using the information specifically from this book. Okay, and so you can see this sort of response is incredibly detailed and incredibly deep, different than you get in ChatGPT because you didn't have to prompt anything. You just connected the book and connected the persona. And now it'll walk me through exactly how to connect one of these things and how to prompt engineer. Okay, good so far? Let's look at some other widgets on here. Image isn't done quite yet today, but it's going to be soon. So for instance, if you wanted to throw your listing photos on here and have the AI help you create marketing material based on the photos, you can do that, right? So images are a cool thing. Or I love to use it for audits. I will take a screenshot of a social media account, my Instagram, my Facebook. I'll throw it on here and ask Huzi to create a little audit for me to help improve my engagement on my social media. And I'll look at your different posts and your comments and your usage and give you a full like audit of how to improve your social media. YouTube videos, what we're doing here, let's find a video. Let's see, this is on Huzi, converting new leads. I'm going to copy the website address for this video. I'm going to enter it in here as a YouTube video. And now you can see the video is available on my board. I can watch it. A couple of questions. I can connect it to a chat and I can ask any questions I want. Let's see if I want to connect it to this. Oops, I don't want to go there.
Do you know that Amazon has a $50 million fund that they have to pay out every
Yes, I do. Thank you. There you go. Give it to my chat. Delete this one. I'm going to summarize this video. Boom. And now you can do that. It's summarize the video because I just handed that video to my assistant. It knows everything in the video and it's going to walk me through it. So this is how I like to learn things at 10x the speed. I go to an hour-long video. I start using with Satori. I break down the concepts, and in 10 minutes, I've got a pretty good idea about what's going on in that video. Make sense, you guys? Okay. Last one, I'm going to show you books. Contacts is contacts. Because we do things for people, you can also do hyper-personalized presentations, responses, research, gift buying, gift giving, I found to be an incredibly powerful one. So with Mark here, I'm going to say, what would Mark want to know about this? So you can see now, because notes in my CRM, I've got notes about Mark. It's pulled all the information and specifically trained this model on everything about Mark. Pretty cool, Mark, by the way.
Wow, it's telling me more than I know about myself. That's good. It's also scary.
And a drag and drop. This isn't something you'd be able to do with like ChatGPT very easily. You guys see the difference, right? So just think of these tools. These are just elements. Like you have a really powerful chat model just by itself. So just by the chat model by itself, it's great. You can just chat back and forth. Maybe you've got two offers you want to compare and contrast. Maybe trying to decide between a couple different strategies. Or maybe today you're going to sit down and work on your business and you want to have one focusing on your marketing, one focusing on your operations, and one focusing on your technical skills. You can have that on one board, right? Be working on your business all in one way with videos and books and whatnot, getting to work, with you at any point in time. So that's why these toolkits are built out the way they are. It's meant to be the building blocks of developing great prompts so you can create information or responses back. And that's Satori. Okay. And we'll do a full detail next week, but I want to wet the whistle. People are on the call today.
I love this so much. And I think my favorite part, well, of course, Book Boost, of course, that element, but the persona as well, too. We talked about on our member call last night. Anytime you have that thought, well, I don't know, I'm not a, or if only I was trained on, or something like that, that you just now create that persona, if you're not an expert marketer, or you're not a therapist, or I don't know, I'm not a, you just type it in there.
So now I can, if I want, like I have to catch a flight here in a couple hours to go to an event and I'm not going to be able to exercise, but let's say if I wanted like, oh my gosh, I need some help, like staying on track, help me figure out how to stay on track during my trip day. Okay. Now this fitness instructor is going to work with me to exactly figure out what I need to do to stay on track for my fitness today. And all I had to do was whip up a persona and throw it on the board. Okay. So that is essentially what Satori is all about. Does anybody have any specific use cases that they want to show and we work through as an example? Glenn, Jamie, Todd, you guys got anything?
So let's just throw this. I'm going to throw this back into real estate for a second. So let's say that you know of a few different websites that, and I know that you might want to throw it up there, but I can't think of any off the top of my head. But if you know of a few different websites in your local market that is competition that, really seem to be absorbing a lot of great information on hyper local neighborhoods or whatever, and you want to be able to duplicate something similar on a web page on your own website, you'd be able to feed it those URLs and say, hey, Satori, I would like for you to draft a landing page for such and such neighborhood modeled off of these different websites, absorbing this information, et cetera, right?
That is exactly.
Also spell it out for me, Satori, what the best call to actions are on these emails and how we would generate the lead funnel for that. What are we going to offer them, et cetera, et cetera.
That's literally exactly one of my favorite use cases is taking current information, whether it's on a website, in a book, on a YouTube video, and then converting it to what I need for my use. Exactly that. So if you want to look at your competitors, you want to look at viral videos, if you want to look at some of the best strategies out of some of your sales books, if you want to like take your website, add it to the Challenger sale book, and then tell it to rewrite all of your website copy to match the Challenger sale techniques, bam. Like that sort of like mix and match, that sort of resourcefulness, that's exactly what it's for. It's a great use case, Jamie. Yep. Hey, Glenn.
Hey, thanks, you guys. This is off the charts. But I've been doing real estate for 38 years, but I'm coming from a different angle than this whole thought process that you have process. But for me, I think it's important for me to book a one-on-one. I'm changing a whole I'm all Apple and Mac based. And, I have a website space on Squarespace. I'm looking at Daylight to use CRM and then interacting, which I know it would with the MLS, but I was looking at ActivePipe. I love their layout it's so clean. But I want to know it doesn't work good with Mac. So what I want to do is compare what should I use to implement and copy that thought process. So is that something with the one-on-one that's
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep. No question at all.
Okay.
What's interesting about the whole evolution of things, IDX like I owned a brokerage for a while, so did Danielle and whatnot. And it was really important that we gave agents, IDX powered websites for a really long time. But then, you can see statistically what's happening. They don't go to the individual agent websites to look for homes, right? So we should think more clearly about, well, like in Mark's case, he's got the houses and cars. Like, why would I have a general IDX website for it? It would be all about, I would be using Satori and SparkPad to create blog material, interesting videos, compelling copy. I would just be SEO cramming the crap out of that website to match my needs and have nothing to do with IDX feeds, right? And by the way, a little side note, if you're going to do any sort of SEO, think clearly about what's happening to the internet, right? People are going to ChatGPT more and more and more to search the internet, right? That's not Google, that's Bing, right? So if you want to show up in chats that are happening online inside of ChatGPT, focus your SEO strategy for Bing, so you're more likely to be shown in the chat interface in ChatGPT. Make sense?
Well, yeah. And then so for me too, it's simplifying. I mean, that's why active pipe, you look at it and go, oh, you kind of relax. And one of the main reasons for my website is I have video testimonials. So when people get in there and they see it, they go, Glenn doesn't have to brag about him. Here's what somebody says. So it's the expertise. I'm sorry, the gentleman in the red shirt again that on today. I'm sorry, Mark. I mean, it's phenomenal what you're doing. And you and I have a lot of time, and as other people, but it's nice to allow people to visually get in contact with and see what other people are saying about you. So this is phenomenal. I'm just rattling on. I'm going to shut up.
No, it's great. So the use cases, again, like if you go back to even the agents, like let's say, because in the agent interface, it will display anything that's HTML, right? So if you wanted to deliver up, links to your YouTube videos that shows your proof of social proof, video testimonies, you can do that inside your agent. The agent say, hey, instead of taking Mark's word for it or Glenn's word for it, see what Sally had to say about their services, right? And it would show the video inside of the chat interface that way as well, right? So great example. Yeah.
Thanks, you guys.
Yeah. Any other Satori questions you guys here, or use case questions? Or can it do this?
Will it spit out HTML code for you if you want it to create a landing page?
Yep. That's it too.
Like if I feed it like font and color and everything, it'll just do it for me, subheadings and all that jazz?
For sure. You may find in the SparkPad using the DeepSeek model might produce a little better results, or maybe the Claude model. You can test those things. And remember, autocoders don't produce perfect one-shot examples. So you might have to go back and forth a little bit, but it will absolutely produce HTML code for you 100%.
In Satori, do we need to know like when to switch to different models in those use cases, or will it do it for us automatically? Like, how do we know when it's applicable to try a different model?
We choose the models on all of our products that is best suited for what we think the most default task is going to be. And sometimes actually we're using multiple models to produce a result for you. So it might be a GPT-4, then it might be a Claude model, and then we passed one for the next and then produce the result. You don't see that all happening, but that's what we're doing in the background. So we'll have the default model like that, and then you'll be able to choose if you've just found that you love Claude as an example to do a particular thing, you'll be able to select to it like you can in SparkPad today. Yeah, in fact, on Satori, I'm gonna go ahead and open the board back up. Like let's say, because you are wanting to code a little bit, and everybody needs to know just a tiny bit about how that works, but we don't need to be coders anymore. I'm using AI. I'm using 3 different AIs. I use the SparkPad code to train the operator model inside of OpenAI to use a product called Replit to build apps for me. Right. So I create the strategy with Huzi, I feed it to the operator model, and it goes and builds it for me. And I come back and I just have an AI tell an AI what to do to build a It's great. And I don't code. So the way you're thinking is the way most people are going to be thinking here in the future. So let me actually open Satori real quick. If I wanted to code something, and I haven't done this yet, so let's actually do a little use case. I'm going to delete a bunch of stuff here. Actually, no, let me start a new board. And can you see my screen? No. And questions, you guys unmute yourself if you want and ask any questions here while we're just doing this random Q&A. But I will, okay, here. So I'm gonna throw a chat window on the board and I'm gonna go to,
I love the purple cow on there. That's my absolute favorite.
mine too, actually. Yeah, I love, it's one of my favorite. I was using it the other night, actually. There's literally 40 million books in there. So it has about everything you want. All right, HTML code. I'm gonna grab this book. I'm gonna probably whip up a coding assistant. HTML code, coding expert. Okay. And what would you need code for? Let's say you want it for, like, for a landing page. Well, code to right. All right, so it's gonna get to work. And I'm just doing this live right in front of you. I've actually never done this before. So here you go. So it gives you the explanation, it gives you the code, it gives you the code right here, it gives you the explanation of what it is, and I gave you suggestions for considerations. Like, right, boom, 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 boom. So Jamie, can you see how fast that was?
Oh my God, you guys, you can do this with like, you can create your email newsletter in like a freaking flash with this just by giving it prompts and telling it that you, whatever theme, and then giving it your website and saying, you know, I want the email newsletter to also include links to my specific blogs. And why don't you go ahead and pull out events that are happening around the Charlotte area? Make sure that you pull a few that are family friendly, so on and so forth, and like, boom, fast. Now you have a whole code that you can just add into MailChimp or whatever. I'm legitimately so sad that I don't have time to just hermit myself in with this for 5 days and just like shut the world out, because I am stupidly wet for this, you guys. Sorry, not sorry.
I am so happy that I just got that reaction, because this is actually the first time I showed any more of this, like, little bits here and there. Just been waiting to get it to be where it was robust, where I felt like putting the beta label and getting out to you guys. But the idea too, like you were talking about, now that, because there's very few models where you have a reasoning model and internet search in the same thing. If you look, you don't have that. We were figuring out a way to do that. It was pretty awesome. So then you can do, hey, search for these websites, like you said, for the Charlotte model or Portland or whatever. They can bring that now, input that into the code, right? And so you can do that right here in one chat window, back and forth. As a matter of fact, one of the cool thing about having multiple chat windows is that you might have a rough draft going on one side, right, and a final product on the other side. And so you have a coach teaching you to do on the other one. And you have one giving you suggestions for your final product on your other AI right here, right? So you can have them working side by side in this way and do iteration over and over and over. It's literally unlimited. Like, our philosophy here was that we wanted to free up people's creativity, because right now you're constrained to prompt back and forth, and now you're freed up in a new cool way. And that's what Satori is meant to do.
The only thing missing from one of the sci-fi movies is the ability to grab this with my hands out of the air rather than having to use the cursor.
Buddy, I cannot wait. So the little, when I disconnected my thing, you couldn't hear me earlier, but the little Huzi down here below, we already have a version where I can ask Huzi, hey, Huzi, put these 3 blocks on the board for me. And Huzi will put the blocks. You don't have to drag and drop. I can use it with my voice, right? It's not quite robust yet. It's not quite dialed in yet. But yeah, that's coming, Mark. Like, it's literally like, I want to be able to sit here, you guys, say, I want to make this website. What books should I know about? It'll put the books on there. Teach me about HTML code so I can get this into MailChimp. Go look at the HTML docs on the MailChimp website and bring it back and tell me what I did wrong. Just talking like that is what we're working on. All right. It's pretty spectacular, I think.
Can you give voice prompts to Satori like you can in Huzi? Can you talk?
Not yet. That'll be in the next week or so. Like, this little interface down here, this will all be looking a little bit different this week. And we're gonna add the model selector different right here, and the microphone option will be here in about a week.
And this is only on desktop, right?
Only on desktop. It kind of works on a smaller device. You can get all the way down on an iPad. It's fine. But this, to me, is kind of a power user. I'm sitting at my desktop working on something, right? I'm not on my phone in my car between clients. That's what the SparkPad's for, right?
Yeah, I need a bigger monitor. I know I'm going to I need to go back and monitor.
And I'm sorry, you guys, I should have made this a larger screen and zoomed in and stuff like that. But yeah, you can zoom in. And we have on the lower right hand side, you've got the controls here where you have a big canvas. You got a pretty big canvas. We just extended the size of the canvas. If you notice on the lower right hand or lower left hand side, it says project save. So the thing is auto saving constantly. So we're always trying to auto save your work here as it's going along. So you'll see like as I make changes here, it will auto save. You see the little auto save thing on the left hand side. So it's being saved. And now with this board, if I want to save this board, I go to my boards. This is the board that we just created. I want to name it. So I'll click here. I want to rename it. And you're going to actually see here that Huzi is looking at what's going on the page and giving me suggested names even. So this is my HTML board. I'm going to click that. And now I've got it. I know what this board is here. Okay. So I named it and I can refer to it at any point in time. Like with this board here, claim it. Who's going to look to see what's on the board? Oh, it's an empty board. That's why. So I'm actually going to delete that board. Delete it. It's gone. There you go. So I can keep this nice and clean. And eventually here, there'll be folders too. So if you have folders for doing all marketing, you have all buyers, all listings, right? You'll be able to put these boards into folders as well. But for now, we just have the boards going here on a string. It'll be the infinite scroll for a little bit. Any other questions, you guys? Jamie, I can see you're still scratching your head a little bit.
I'm very eager. I've been telling Rick for like a week. I'm like, everything I keep wanting to do, I think was in Satori. And I want Satori. When do we get Satori? And then last night I thought it was being dangled in front of me. And then today I thought you were dangling it until you said that we get it tonight or tomorrow. And I'm like on East Coast time, so I probably get it later. But I'm still very, very stoked. And I genuinely cannot wait for templates. I mean, that's the way to systems and scalability and leverage. I mean, at a high level is having templated process. So I'm super stoked for that.
Yeah, templates are next, both for Satori and in Assistance, actually. So you're going to see here in the base system prompts, you'll see in the next couple of weeks also a template library. So you'll be able to create templates of your base system prompts and store them here and just deploy them over and over and over. So if you have the same assistant for clients, if you want to deploy them to each listing you want or different events, you can have them over and over, and that will be here in a library of sorts as well, in addition to being able to find them in the marketplace. Okay, so there'll be two different ways. So templates here and templates in Satori. And then obviously in the SparkPad, then you're going to have versions of the Sparks right down here. And then obviously you can save all of your chats in the history. So those are the three ways that we're able to get templates on our three systems currently. Any other Satori questions? Use case ideas? Hey, Sean, by the way, I see Sean Skinner's here. Hi, Keith. Hey, guys. Okay.
This is fantastic. I'm so glad we were able to jump into Satori today. So as we continue, our next call will be next, I guess, in the series, will be next Wednesday, starting at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. And I know Eric may adjust the agenda slightly, but our plan is to move on to financial and business planning use cases.
Yeah. So for that, I'll probably just put heavy use on Satori. We'll do the financial. We'll stick with the same topic, but we'll use Satori as the model that we're using and the tool that we use to work on that topic.
And by that time, we'll all have it. So we'll be eager to jump in together.
Yes. Guys, my pleasure to be working on this project with and for you both. At the same time, the team is incredibly hardworking and committed to this project. Like, it's hard for me to put words into what it's like to have a team like I do at Huzi that's as crazy about all this as I am. I'm trying to deliver a great experience. And so just publicly, Kelly and Danielle and Josh on the call, and I think Nate's on the call too. Thank you guys. And for you guys that have been with us a really long time, it's not lost on me either. And so this is why Satori comes with a membership. 3 agents come with a membership. I promise you from the beginning that, like, as you guys, we roll stuff out, I'm not going to nickel and dime our current members for things, especially our founding members. And I just really want to thank you for being with us and being part of the story and giving us feedback. And when the product's imperfect, you have patience for bugs because we fix them as fast as we can. So thank you guys very much for that. Okay.
Yeah, thank you all. Thanks for joining us today, and we'll load this up in Huzi Learn in the next day.
See y'all guys real soon.